Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Nina Boski, and welcome to LifeBites Radio, where entertainment meets life. This morning on LifeBites, we've got Shammy the dog. Yes, Shammy saying hello, and Shammy's going to show me the money as we get into the flow. We're going to be talking about your relationship with money. Money can be very loaded. Many of us are crazy about money. We spend too much of it. We save too little. We hoard it. We sink into debt over it. We lavish it. We're stingy with it. We lie about it. We fight over it. We think about it all the time, and then we avoid thinking about it at all. So what makes us act this way? Well, we like to believe that our choices and actions are guided by rationality and common sense. But in fact, reason and common sense often have little to do with our money behavior. Even trained financial professionals can be crazy about money. So rather, our decisions are governed by our emotions and money beliefs. So if these emotions and beliefs are balanced and clear, we'll act wisely about our money. But if we're confused, if we make poor decisions, we'll create financial havoc and deep unhappiness. There's even a book called Crazy About Money, How to Really Create Better Choices and Help You Get Over Some of These Money Issues. We also have a couple of guests on, some wonderful guests, to help us really deal with these money relationship, whatever it is, whether you have it, whether you don't. Our relationship with money can be loaded. I don't know if I know one person. I will deal with clients. Some of them have a lot of money. Some of them don't. I find it very fascinating that whether you have it or you don't, sometimes the issues are the same. Fear, worry, lack, etc. So Robert Wheeler, CPA and author of The Money Nerve, Navigating the Emotions of Money, will be with us. He's the author of that and a CPA for the last 25 years. And Sam Polk, founder and executive director of Grocery Ships, and he is a former hedge fund trader. He also wrote a wonderful article in the New York Times. It was the Sunday front page. It stirred a lot of emotions in people for the love of money. So before we get started, I'd like to thank Jay Cruz, who's my producer. I'm going to give out the numbers, 1-800-555-5453 if you'd like to comment. You can also follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/LifeBitesTV or on Twitter at LifeBites. And Jay, you and I were talking about money earlier.
Yes. Show me the money.
Show me the money. Yeah, that's the famous Jerry Maguire quote. What do you think when people are talking about money? Do you think you have a good relationship with money?
It's okay. It could be better, but I understand it comes and goes.
Yeah.
And it seems, And with that, I try to look at it with the analogy of a lot of words we use to describe money. Currency, flow, banks, reserves, things we also use with water. Therefore, it's important to have a good relationship and be honest and be kind of sharing with it, but practical with it. It's like water, We want to share it with our lawns and plants and vegetables to grow and sustain. And if that's feeding our animals and pets and giving back oxygen, that's all good. So money is good. It comes. We give goods and services, our skills, professional. We have landlords that are professional landlords that are giving rent in homes, and that's, anyway, the life we live in with that. So it comes and goes, and other people depend on it moving sometimes, and we need to keep a little bit. You always need to have some water when someone comes over, or you always need to have some for yourself, or save it for a rainy day. So there's a lot of that to it, and So it's huge. Water is a huge equation to us on this planet to live and on this universe, supposedly on bigger metaphysical levels. So, not to get there, but we need it to do a lot, and we need to support people, and a lot of people are practical with how they support stuff. Maybe they find out, for instance, Monsanto. Maybe they find out that what they're doing isn't aligning with how you want to eat food and products, and people are maybe trying to go organic and get around things that are done with a company that people maybe don't believe in. I picked on them because they're pretty big. So.
Oh, yeah. And, I was going to say also, you were bringing up a point about, sharing, etc. Mm-hmm. We live, especially here in the Western world, we live in a culture of the me mentality. And, when is enough compared to the we mentality? Yeah,
and often a little without sometimes older generations will save and pass to younger generations, and the younger generations will want to save to pass to the next generation too. So there's a little of that as well, and being able to set people up and wanting to set people up. So I think we're all have that nurturing and some can appreciate when they've been nurtured more than others. Some are a little more like Daffy Duck. He was kind of greedy.
Well, it's interesting. Steve Jobs' quote says, bottom line is, I didn't return to Apple to make a fortune. I've been very lucky in my life and already had one. When I was 25, my net worth was $100 million or so. So I decided then that I wasn't going to let it ruin my life. There's no way you could ever spend it all, and I don't view wealth as something that validates my intelligence. Mm-hmm. And I think we'll find out later in the hour about Sam's, journey. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people look at their self-worth.
Yes.
As how much money you have in the bank.
Yeah, they do. And sometimes it's never enough, even when it's piles of big zeros and millions gazillions.
I love this also quote by Will Smith. It says, money and success don't change people. They merely amplify what is already there. Isn't that interesting? I thought, I really do think that. I think that, they say that sometimes money changes people, but I don't think so. I think, you cultivate what's already inside of you. And so I think this is a good time for everybody that is listening today. I want you to take a step back, and maybe there's a charge about money in your life, right? And so I think this is a good time for you to look at, what is it? Because sometimes back to the intro, I said sometimes we're thinking about it all the time. But if we're thinking about it all the time, a lot of times we're just looping. We're not really dealing with it. It's like a surface loop. And, oh, my God, I'm stressed about money. Oh, my God, I'm stressed about money. But we don't necessarily deal with what's going on. Same thing. Oh, my God, I don't want to deal with money. That also can be the issue as well, where we're not dealing with it. So for today, maybe you're not going to really actually delve in and deal with the particulars of your money situation, but what I would like you to do, you can go as deep as you want, but what I'd like you to do for today is to say to yourself, hello to your relationship with money. Hello to your relationship with money. And so I think that's a real key to life. I think it's a real key to healing your relationship with money. And with that said, what I'd like to do is introduce my next guest. I am excited to have him. His name is Robert Wheeler. He's the CPA and author of The Money Nerve, Navigating the Emotions of Money. So this will help you start to prepare as you start to investigate in your own life your relationship with money. So Bob has heard, Bob is a certified CPA practicing in Los Angeles. He's heard countless stories of financial shame and pain from his clients time and time again for the last 25 years. He's been practicing public accounting, hearing similar themes from so many clients, no matter what their socioeconomic levels have been. Bob was motivated to help people find a new path. to change their feelings of anger, hurt, or shame into feelings of gratitude, hopefulness, and to move people into a place of a proactive abundance, a place where they can define how and when they can make financial decisions that are purposeful, that have good intentions, and shift in an attitude that can remove that pinch money nerve and create a healthy relationship with money. I like that. Pinch money nerve. So with that said, welcome, Robert Wheeler. Great to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Nina. It's great to be here.
Well, let's get right into it because I love this topic, and I love it because I have dealt with it in my own life. I've dealt with it in relationship to my own clients. It's loaded. I just was dealing with it this last in a coaching circle. A group of coaches get together every week, and we actually brought up the subject of money on purpose, knowing I was going to do this show.
Right.
And it was really interesting to watch the energy in the room. It got a little tense.
Yeah.
So why is that?
Well, we're taught for some reason early on to really guard what's going on with our money stuff because we all know that we never have enough or we're not doing it right or we've been taught all these different things. Anxiety is what comes with money or there's lots of responsibility. And so when people start talking about it, people clam up because, oh, my God, what if they ask me? What is my credit card debt? I can't tell them. We've created this barrier. People would rather talk about sex than money, and they don't really like to talk about sex. So it's one of those areas that we're not allowed to talk about.
So what exactly is the money nerve?
So money nerve to me is that place where when you see your check overdrawn or you're at a restaurant and they decline your credit card and that place in your body where you get sick to your stomach or it tightens up. And for everybody it's in a different place. Maybe it's the heart. But it's that place where we physically feel the trauma of having a bad financial experience.
So Bob, when exactly, do you want to go by Robert or Bob? I was to go.
Bob.
Okay. So when did you start realizing this is what you were seeing in your clients?
Well, it's interesting. I had been hearing it, and I hadn't really put two and two together. And I was sitting with a client one day, and she was sobbing, and she just was telling me how much of a loser she was because all of her brothers and sisters were doctors and her dad was a doctor and she was a comic. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, well, I'm the only person in the whole world that doesn't know how to manage my money. I'm in debt and I've got this and this going on and my family tells me how much I'm unlike the rest of the world. And I realized this is what people go through. They create this story in isolation, and they turn it into a novel of, I'm the only one, woe is me, and if anybody found out, I would just die.
So what I also hear you saying, and you talked about this, is shame. There's a lot of shame as it relates to if you are hiding, what's that, it's an AA term, but it is, what is it? Is you're only as sick as your secrets, right?
Right.
And but let's take the comic, right? And let's take the doctor. The doctor goes through schooling. There's a structure. A comic is almost like it is a performer, or
right.
The person's a performer. It's creative, so you never really know where your next paycheck is coming. That is, especially here in Los Angeles,
right.
That can be a common theme. How would somebody get over that story? Because that story's, because it happens all the time.
Well, absolutely. Well, I get a lot of creative types who actually have a belief that you're not allowed to make money at your passion. So they're actually jumping into something where they've already made a decision that I can't make money at it. So the first thing is to find out if that's a belief you hold, because that's going to hold you back. Even a creative person is entitled to make money. But there's a belief or that it's not real true creativity if I'm getting paid for it. So we have to go through those subconscious money blocks and realize where am I self-sabotaging. So a creative person can make lots of money. It may not come in even amount over this, even months, but learning to know that you're going to have plateaus, it's going to be up and down. You can still make plans and still live abundantly.
It's interesting you're talking about the creative person. I mean, in some ways, an entrepreneur is a creative person because they're a visionary, right? And I remember when I was working for the cable network and when I was in a corporate life, That was much easier than being the entrepreneur.
Absolutely, because the checks just come.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's just automatic. Every 2 weeks you get your check, and yada yada yada. In entrepreneurship, maybe one month you're doing really well, the next month you're not, and really being able to plan for that. And I think a lot of times, to your kind of the chicken and the egg, right. What's leading the show? Is it the belief, or is it the behavior, or is it both?
Right. And it's really, for me, it's about starting to get conscious in what are we doing, what have we been doing in the past unconsciously that's either working or not working, and then either continue to make those choices or make different ones. Now,
I find what you do, right, being a CPA and dealing with the emotions of money, very fascinating, and also very much needed in this society, because you have people that have, quote, they think rational beliefs about money, or you just go and you make money, and they don't quite associate that your emotional setup is what's driving your financial situation a lot of the times.
Absolutely. And the thing for me that's key is if we don't understand emotionally what we're doing, there's no point in getting into the practical applications because we're not going to do them. It's like when somebody tells you they're going on a diet, they know they know what they need to do, eat less, exercise, and then they don't do it. And it's not because they don't know, it's because emotionally they have other reasons. And it's the same with money. If we don't look at the emotional impact, discussing a budget or planning for taxes is sort of a moot point.
So let's talk about the money nerve. What if somebody were to pick up this book or purchase the book, what are they going to get?
So what they're going to get is they're going to get some great exercises. They're going to get some great stories. They're going to get some personal stories as well of mine, because I've also been on this path. I didn't write all this because I did it perfectly. I did it because I also made lots of mistakes. But what they're going to get is an overview of how to start to identify their mental map. And they're going to do processes and journaling that's going to help them uncover and trace back where they got these beliefs. And then they're going to learn to take actions and steps to help propel them in a new direction.
Wow. Okay, that's good. That's good. So what would you say is the number one issue people have regarding their money, whether they have it or not?
Undeserving.
Wow.
I have lots of wealthy people that feel very undeserving, and they don't want anybody to know that they have wealth because they're so ashamed that they didn't earn it. And then I have people that don't have any money who are so ashamed because if people knew they didn't have any money, they would judge them and hate them and leave them. So it doesn't matter how much or how little. I see that as the biggest issue.
How do you think somebody can start to look at their money emotionally? I asked people at the beginning of the hour, right before you came on, to take a step back, because I think a lot of times we're either worrying about money and we just loop, right? Or we do the opposite, where we just try not to think about it at all.
Right.
So how can somebody start to look at their money emotionally?
So the first is being willing to say to yourself, I'm willing to make this commitment to do something different. I'm willing to take an action. I'm willing to do something that's going to be uncomfortable, but I'm committed to a different outcome. So until you can be willing to make that commitment to yourself, that you're going to take these steps, even if they're baby steps, if you don't make that commitment, then I don't think you can go anywhere. I think you're just going to keep looping into your story.
Wow. Now, Bob, let's say somebody's listening for the first time and they're just finally starting to get kind of connected to, they may have a story.
Right.
How would somebody start to be more aware of their story? How do they identify with it?
So the first way I get people to be aware of their story is to do a lot of journaling, and I have a lot of specific questions that help people come to realize their story. And then what I like to do is, if people feel like they can't hear what they're saying to themselves or out loud, is to find a friend or find a support system who will help reflect back what they're saying so they can start to see where their story is taking them astray.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important. And also, what could play into it, though, if you have shame or you're hiding, that may not always be so easy. So you might have to go with somebody that you really trust or a professional like yourself.
Absolutely. And a lot of times I tell people, the people that you might look for support might not be your family. That might be the wrong direction to go. I would look for neutral people, friends that you know that you can trust, and really start to let out little bits of your secrets so you can discover that you won't die.
Yeah, and that also sometimes are not so emotionally connected to you for that very reason.
Exactly.
So we're going to take a short break, but what I'd like to do is we're going to come back and we actually have some questions and some comments from some of our Facebook fans that would like to ask you a question.
Great.
And we'll continue our conversation and love the topic. The book is called The Money Nerve, and my guest is Robert Wheeler.
See straight and save. These days, everyone seems to see things differently. But from your eyes, you can see straight and save. Right now, get glasses online at 70% off at Glasses USA. There's a 100% guarantee, too, on top brand men, women, multifocal, and even prescription sunglasses. Visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Glasses USA, and you will see straight and save.
For all your live or pre-recorded webcasting needs, come to earthchannel.com. Get your web-based message out to a select group or the whole world. It's easy. A pioneer in webcasting, earthchannel.com provides the best products and services to big corporations and government users. And now, the same technology is available to you. They have the best earthcast encoders, servers, and products to meet your technical needs. But wait, don't want to mess with technical stress? No problem. They'll do it for you. earthchannel.com is your answer. You can use webcasting for lots of things, like advertising, marketing, customer support, training, and don't forget, web radio and TV. In fact, you're listening to a live Earthcast right now, so come to earthchannel.com. Actualize your audio or video webcasting needs today. You can't beat the friendly service or the price. Call earthchannel.com at 800-849-8978. That's 800-849-8978.
We're HealthyLife.net, reaching and helping a worldwide audience without hype, without shock, and without shenanigans.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to LifeBites Radio, where entertainment meets life. We are talking about Show Me the Money, getting into the flow. My guest is Robert Wheeler. He's a CPA and author of The Money Nerve, Navigating the Emotions of Money. We were talking, getting into the emotions of money, and I actually have some questions from some of you, which I can't wait to share with him. I love this quote. It's from Bob Hope. It says, "A bank is a place where they lend you money if you can prove that you don't need it." With that, so hey, Bob, the question I have for you is, on your site you talk about, how like business partners are dealing with money, right? And that you give some great tips for business partners. But what are some steps for some of my listeners who may be in a personal relationship, whether it's a spouse or a partner, that they're sharing finances and they have very different spending habits? Let's say one's thrifty, the other one is a spending machine. What would you say?
So what I would say is, and I get this a lot, one spouse wants to make a change, the other one is probably not ready. And so what I do is, one, I get them to go to their spouse and enlist their support. So it might look something like, "Honey, I really want to change the way I'm dealing with my money. I know I've been doing some stuff that has been sabotaging, and I'm wondering if you would support me in maybe doing a weekly meeting to talk about our goals and our budget so that we can actually start to do some of the things that we said we wanted to do."
And do you find that the other person, the partner that person elicits that support actually starts to come around? Because sometimes there's resistance to change.
Absolutely. Well, I find that if I go if I go to my partner and say, you need to do this because you're really messing up, I'm going to get complete resistance. If I go in saying, listen, I've been messing up, and I really want to figure out a way to do this differently. Would you be willing to help me? It's much easier for somebody to come in and say, yeah, I'll help you. And then along the way, they might say, oh, yeah, okay, I've got my stuff too.
Yeah.
and it's really important because I've seen a lot of relationships where spouses withhold information, credit card debt, purchases, secret checking accounts. And the thing is, if you're hiding that with the money, what other parts of the relationship are you hiding? And the more you can come together as a team and agree to meet once a week or once a month, and really have these conversations about, well, I thought we wanted to take a vacation. I thought we wanted to add an addition to the house. I thought we wanted to buy a house. And really plan that stuff out and talk about it. It makes it more real, and it brings it into the present and brings it to consciousness.
Interesting. That's I think that's very, very helpful. You know, one of my money nerves, that is something that I got a hold of in the last year, and I found it interesting, and I wonder if any of my listeners have felt this or you've felt this with any of your clients. And it has kept me from creating more, is a responsibility picture that I've had. So if I already feel responsible, and I'm letting go of that, but if I've already felt responsible, if I have more money, that will even make me more responsible.
Right.
So if I don't have more, then I don't have to take care of everyone.
That's exact. That I see that all the time.
Okay, so I'm not the only one. I thought to myself,
I'm not the only one. And there is some truth that the more abundance you have, there is a little bit more responsibility. But it doesn't mean that it has to be overwhelming, debilitating, catastrophic. It just means you get to make conscious choices. And there's people out there that if you don't want to do it all yourself, you can enlist professionals. You can, it doesn't have to be painful. But we've made this belief that if I have more and I'm more responsible, it's going to be hard and horrible.
Yeah, it was interesting because I had other, money pictures, which I did and do, but that one seems to have been more of the forefront than I even realized.
Well, I really think what it comes down to in that situation is many of us don't like to set boundaries.
Yes.
And really, when you have more money, you have a responsibility of setting boundaries, of telling people, no, I'm not going to fund everybody's dream, and no, I'm not going to fund everybody's project. I'm doing this for me and for the people that I choose to help, not because I have an obligation to help everybody. And it's difficult to set that boundary.
Exactly. I find that very fascinating, and it's actually kind of fun to work with as I start to see it come up more and more. And I thought, wow, there's the boundary issue and the responsibility picture. Diane from San Francisco says, I have money, but it feels like I'm always giving it away. The more I make, the less I have.
Yes, and there's a couple things. One, I think that most people are comfortable with a certain amount of money. So I'm either comfortable with, $100 in my bank account, $5,000, $10,000, whatever that number is. And so when it starts to get more than that, I start trying to find ways to get rid of it so I can get back to my comfort zone.
Wow.
And the other thing I find in people that are super generous, which is a great thing, is sometimes we give generously because, again, we don't feel worthy and we feel guilty.
Yeah.
Because here I'm making all this money and I'm really not that bright, and somebody else that's really smart should have gotten the job. I've got all this extra money, so I should help people that didn't get a good chance because I got so lucky.
Wow. Interesting. Well, Todd from San Antonio, Texas says, and this speaks to what we were just talking about in terms of partnerships, I can't get my wife to stop spending money. It has really become a very big problem in our marriage. She's tacked on an additional $15,000 on a credit card that I just found out about. I have to pay it off. She only works part-time. I'm very resentful.
Right.
What would you say to that?
So I can understand the resentment, and I think, again, if he really wants this marriage to continue, because sometimes people are so far apart in their money beliefs that it's just not possible without aggravation on a daily basis. I think in a situation like this, it's important to sit down with his wife and say, listen, we're a team, reconfirm the commitment that they're both working together, and then say, here's our budget, and here's where this is throwing us off. Are you willing to work with me so that we can get our family back on track to the things that we said we wanted to do? Because if we keep going down this path, I'm going to be full of resentment, and I'm not going to be able to work as a team member. And I really, my desire is to have this relationship go the full distance, and so I really need you to get on board with me. Are you willing to do that? And if you don't have somebody that's willing to be conscious, you have to decide, am I willing to sit here and not be resentful because I'm making a choice to stay in it, or do I need to, is this a relationship that's never going to change, and do I have to get out of it?
Wow. Well, I have one last question before we have to break, but Ginger from Manhattan, New York says, I make a lot more money than my soon-to-be husband. Not sure how to deal with money. We don't really talk about it. Do we combine finances, or do we just keep them separate? I'm a little too nervous to talk to him about money, since he's sensitive that I make more money than him, significantly more.
Well, to me, it's always a little bit of a red flag when people who are about to get married are afraid to have conversations with each other.
Yep.
That scares me because that just means there's going to be problems down the road. If you can't take them and bring them in the open with the one person that's supposed to be your significant other, you're just going to have problems. So to me, I think the first thing is that they need to do some financial counseling together and sit with a third party or a coach or somebody and actually go through their beliefs and how is this going to impact that she's making more, and actually have an open conversation, because if they can't have that now, that's not going to change when they put the rings on.
Great advice. Robert Wheeler, thank you so much. CPA and author, The Money Nerve, Navigating the Emotions of Money. How do they find you?
TheMoneyNerve.com has all of our information. It has workshops. It has the book. And we're coming out with the audio book in the next week. And then they can also find us on Facebook. They can like us and follow us there. It's also The Money Nerve. Well,
I did as well. So thank you so much for your insight, your wisdom, and your practicality. I love it. I love the combo special, as I like to say.
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks a lot. You're listening to LifeBites Radio, and we'll be back in just a moment.